Every workplace has its quirks, but the White House kitchen stands out with its unique rules and protocols. Let's dive into the fascinating and unconventional directives that shape the culinary operations within this historic kitchen. The White House isn't just home to an executive chef, but also boasts a dedicated pastry chef. Susan Morrison, who held the role in 2016, shared her duties with the Oprah magazine, stating, "Most of my day-to-day focus is on desserts for White House events. I could be creating miniature pastries for a reception on the state floor or serving sweets for a luncheon in the West Wing. Our top priority, though, is always the first family." Morrison also takes on a unique task, crafting an elaborate gingerbread house. She detailed the process, noting, "I spend all year thinking about the White House gingerbread house, but we don't begin baking until November. Then, for about 4 days after Thanksgiving, we work tirelessly to build the house before moving it to the state dining room, where more than 60,000 guests will cycle through." Morrison wasn't alone in crafting impressive gingerbread houses. It's an annual tradition at the White House. According to HuffPost, each pastry chef must contribute a spectacular gingerbread creation every year. So, aspiring dessert chefs should be ready to follow this delicious tradition. In 2005, the New York Times covered the White House kitchen and mentioned Christina Comerford as a possible candidate for executive chef. While Comerford was considered for the role, she couldn't provide details on the selection process. The article noted, "The candidates have been asked to keep mum about the selection process, and they are aware that the wrong word may remove them from consideration." The article noted that Comerford took the question seriously, but was unable to provide additional details, stating, "You know the rules of the House." Following the publication, Comerford was appointed as the executive chef. Since then, she has shared insights into her role in interviews with Vogue, CNN, and Asia Society. It seems that once you're in the position, discussing your duties is entirely fair game. Former White House chef John Mueller revealed that chefs serve at the president's pleasure, meaning that if the president decides to ban a particular food, it's likely off the menu. This topic was explored in a C-SPAN program featuring interviews with ex-White House chefs. Pierre Chambrun, one of the former chefs, recounted that President George H.W. Bush had a strong aversion to certain vegetables. Chambrun noted, "I served him some Brussels sprouts, and he told the butler, 'Tell Pierre never to serve that to me again.'" President George H.W. Bush reportedly despised broccoli, but rather than banning it from the White House, he simply avoided eating it. This was a win for those who enjoy broccoli, especially in the Bush family. The situation underscores an amusing quirk of presidential etiquette. Picture a diner at a high-end restaurant instructing the head chef to never serve them tomatoes for the next 4 years. And that diner is one of the world's most influential leaders. Serving as an executive chef at the White House involves intense responsibilities, organizing state dinners, managing irregular hours, and preparing meals for the president. Despite the demanding nature of the job, it comes without overtime pay. The New York Times highlighted this reality in a 2005 article, noting that the role, though crucial, does not include additional compensation for extra hours worked. The pay, $80,000 to $100,000 a year with no overtime, for what is essentially a private family chef who occasionally has an opportunity to show off at a state dinner, is well below what top-level chefs can earn on the outside. It's surprising that White House executive chefs don't receive overtime pay, considering they might be called upon to prepare meals at any hour without extra compensation. It makes the working conditions seem remarkably tight-fisted. Over the years, rumors have circulated that the president has official food tasters to ensure the safety of their meals. Snopes has confirmed the validity of this claim, noting that tasters are indeed employed when the president dines outside the White House. However, former White House chef Walter Scheib contradicted this, telling the Washingtonian that there is no formal position for food tasters. Despite this, Scheib acknowledged that rigorous security measures are in place to safeguard the president's meals, stating, "Nothing gets to the president that hasn't fallen under somebody's jurisdiction. If the president is just grabbing a pretzel randomly at the table, it's been screened." It's understandable that presidential food undergoes strict evaluation, though it feels quite surreal. Imagine showing up to work and being legally prohibited from offering your boss a simple mint you brought from home. The White House egg roll is an Easter tradition that might leave you curious. Fortunately, a Food and Wine article breaks down the event. detailing what it's all about. The White House egg roll is an annual race where kids push eggs through the grass of the White House's lawn with long-handled spoons. Though it's simple, the event remains quite enjoyable. The celebration includes a traditional Easter egg hunt, along with various activities. Additionally, the White House event boasts an impressive number of hard-boiled eggs. According to the article, over 14,000 hard-boiled eggs are hand-dyed for use in the egg roll and the hunt. If it seems over the top, you might want to address it with either the president or the Easter Bunny, who, in this context, is known as the President of Easter. The White House kitchen staff often face the task of boiling and dyeing thousands of eggs for the event. For instance, in 1998, the Los Angeles Times reported that they prepared a staggering 7,200 eggs. It's curious that some of the nation's top chefs are tasked with this mass egg production, which is more about tradition than actual consumption. The White House executive chef handles an array of crucial tasks. According to Men's Journal, this role encompasses a vast range of responsibilities in the presidential kitchen. The executive chef is in charge of feeding the president and first family every day, catering to official guests at the White House, from prime ministers to the egg-rolling masses, as well as all private functions for the president and the first lady. Contrary to what one might expect, the selection of the White House executive chef isn't handled by the president. Instead, as reported by Ms. Magazine, this decision falls under the purview of the First Lady. The First Lady also has the authority to dismiss the executive chef. For instance, in 2005, Laura Bush let go of the executive chef, who later shared with the New York Times that meeting Bush's specific preferences was quite challenging. While it's understandable that the First Lady, who likely enjoys many of the meals prepared, would be involved in hiring the chef, it's surprising that she also holds the power to terminate the position at her discretion. Working in such a prestigious role at the White House is appealing, but it comes with the unsettling prospect of job insecurity. When preparing meals for the president, the White House kitchen staff aims to satisfy his cravings. If the president has a specific dish in mind, even if it's unusual, the team will go to great lengths to prepare it. Meeting his culinary preferences is a priority, no matter how unique the request.
This is the White House. They take the homemade pizza and put it in a box. They will do the takeout look for you. I mean, it's not just food, it's preparation.
In 1969, the Reading Eagle revealed that Richard Nixon enjoyed cottage cheese topped with ketchup. The article noted, Nixon talked about his dish during an appearance at the White House Conference on Food, Nutrition, and Health. He says he feels he should eat cottage cheese for diet and health reasons, but doesn't like the taste. So he covers it with ketchup, which he does like. Nixon, a connoisseur of unique flavors and a beacon of wellness. In a C-SPAN interview, host Susan Stamberg quizzed former White House chefs about preparing Nixon's unconventional favorite, cottage cheese with ketchup. Frank Ruda, who spent over a decade in the White House kitchen, admitted with a shrug that while the dish puzzled him, he dutifully prepared it whenever requested. Such quirky preferences underscore the distinctive and often surprising nature of working in the White House kitchen.
And I used to tell Barack, don't say you want something, because then we'll have like thousands of it.
A White House chef can't just switch off their phone before bed. They may face consequences if they miss a call from their employer, especially when the president is in residence. According to pastry chef Bill Yosses, the kitchen staff must remain on alert at all times. In theory, we were working 24/7. Although the president could theoretically request a late-night meal at 2 a.m., Chef Bill Yosses never faced such a demand during his tenure. The real responsibility wasn't just catering to a midnight craving, but ensuring that the entire White House staff was well fed. As Yossis noted, there could be a national emergency and the people involved have to get up at 3 a.m. and handle a crisis. Walter Scheib mentioned he rarely had to cook at odd hours. He told Vice, "We really didn't do much of the midnight snack thing." The U.S. Secret Service is certainly invested in ensuring the president's food is safe and non-threatening, but they also avoid micromanaging the kitchen. To balance security with kitchen operations, they grant chefs a special designation that permits them to prepare meals for the president. As Walter Scheib explained, the clearance that you have when you're working in the White House is called Top Secret Presidential Proximity. He explained why chefs undergo extensive security clearances. In terms of the few of us that are in the kitchen who have that clearance, if you think about it, we're not just around outside and next to the president, we're physically inside of him. You really couldn't get any more close to that. Few chefs can claim they need top secret presidential proximity clearance to cook, and even fewer can say they're literally inside the president's inner circle while preparing meals. White House state dinners are the epitome of formality and grandeur, designed to honor foreign dignitaries or monarchs. As detailed by the White House Historical Association, these events typically host hundreds of guests and demand the utmost precision from the culinary team. In 2012, The Blade covered a panel featuring former and current White House chefs, revealing some stringent protocols. For instance, second portions are not automatically offered but can be requested by guests. This insight underscores the intense pressure and meticulous rules governing these prestigious dinners. Additionally, the article highlighted, from the moment the first course is placed on the table to the moment the last course is served, no more than 55 minutes may elapse, and each course must absolutely be ready to be served at the proper time. No delays will be tolerated. These rules aren't just intense, they're peculiarly specific. Why set a 55-minute limit instead of a full hour? It raises questions about who crafted these guidelines and whether their main goal was simply to add stress to a chef's job. As a White House chef, you might assume your duties revolve solely around cooking, but that's not the case. For example, President Barack Obama took it a step further by requesting homemade beer. In fact, his White House even shared a 2012 video detailing the reasons behind this unique request. This unexpected task highlights the wide range of responsibilities a chef in the White House might encounter, extending far beyond traditional culinary duties.
The president certainly thought it'd be a great idea to see if we could join the American people in that time-honored tradition and brew some of our own beer.
The kitchen staff developed their own beer recipe, incorporating ingredients grown right on the White House grounds. While they seem genuinely excited about this unique project, it raises the question of whether brewing beer was actually part of their job description, or if it might have been simpler to just fetch the president a six-pack from the store.